recording now. All right, so that's today, creating your Google Classroom. Tomorrow, we're going to actually jump in and start looking at content, looking at resources that you can use to use along with Google Classroom, and time to explore those and integrate those. And so really, if you are using Google Classroom expertly and this is kind of like a refresh for you, that'll be an opportunity for you to find some new tools and or create new content. And then finally on Thursday, we are going to look at some ways to add more voice and choice and student agency into the resources. So I'm very excited. So it looks like most of you guys are renamed. That's awesome. I do have one more yes, no question in the participants tab. So I really want to know before I jump over to Google Classroom, who has used Google Classroom before? And so go ahead and click on the participants tab and, ooh, this is like an auction. I can watch it count up, you guys. It's like 19 to 19 right now. Super fun. Oh, wow. So you guys are like split down the middle. I love it. It's 27 to 31 right now. So really, really a great mix. And so what I'm going to encourage, I'm going to encourage the people who haven't used Google Classroom to ask questions. And the people who have Google Classroom, please share your experiences, because this is one of those things that, you know, we all use it differently and there's lots of different ways we can structure things and use things. So please share your experiences, because your experiences are really valuable for what we're looking at. Okay, so I can't wait. So 28 to 32 is our numbers. So file that away. At the end, it's going to be different. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my Zoom screen and we are going to pop over to Google Classroom. So you guys do have a resource for today, and I'm going to give you the link to that in the chat. There's a and so it's bit.ly GC Sisseton, and this is also shared in our Google Classroom. And so today, our big thing is we are going to be looking at how to access Google Classroom, how to create your account, and kind of or how to create your class and the different aspects to that. So one of the things, oh, okay, some people are popping in. Oh, thanks, Corey. So the bit.ly's on there, but then also it is, Corey just shared the link. So thanks for letting me know that. So one of the things with logging into Google Classroom is we do need to make sure we're using our at k12.sd.us, which is your organizational account. And with Google Classroom, and this is one of the things that I love about Google Classroom, but it also can be really frustrating. If you are not logged into your at K12 account to use Google Classroom, what will happen is your students who use their at K12 email address will not be able to join your class. As part of the Google Apps for Education, your at k12.sd.us email is the domain that we're using. And so it's set up so that only people in the at K-12 can join that domain, and only people that are, so you can only join classes that are in the at K-12 domain, and nobody outside the at K-12 domain can join. So for example, if you or your student are using a personal Gmail account, you cannot join the k12.sd.us class. So it's a great security feature. However, there's also a confusion factor here. One of the things that Google did a number of years ago is they allowed it so you can create Google Classroom on your personal account. And so it means that I can be logged into my Gmail account, I can create a Google Classroom, but then if I'm a teacher and I'm trying to invite my K-12 kids, they can't join. So we do want to make sure we know where we're logged in at. And so that's going to be our very first challenge, is to log in to Google Classroom and make sure that we are logged in with our at k12.sd.us email address. And then the also thing, and this is, and I'm glad Corey's here, so yay Corey. He can fix things. So we're happy we have Corey. Yes?
To break in here, but unless they've changed it, Sisseton is not able to access anything that's bit.ly.
Okay, thank you. This is the only bit.ly that I used, so I won't. And Corey did share the link to the doc in the chat, and so I will drop it back there too. So, so the first time you sign in for your Google Classroom, you need to pick if you are a teacher or a student. And in this situation, you guys are all teachers. So please, but if you accidentally click I'm a student, it's okay. Corey's here and he can fix it. But you do want to be a teacher, because that's what's going to allow you to create your Google Classroom. So I'm going to give everybody just a couple of seconds to log in to classroom.google.com and use your k12.sd.us email to do that. And then you should be able to pick your role if it's the very first time and say that you're a teacher. So I'm just going to give everybody just a couple minutes to do that. That class. Oh, Julie, do you have a question?
Guess what?
Julie G, you have your hand raised? Okay.
Julie, now I got that screen right beside you. Now, how do I get out of that to see? Do I close yours out?
Okay. So let's, what screen, I'm sorry, what screen are you seeing right now?
Well, I see the Google Classroom, but does that need to be bigger than what I have there?
So this is the screen that I'm sharing right now. I'm sharing Google Classroom right now. And so this was just something that I dropped in. And so what you should see right now, once you've logged into your Google Classroom, is depending on if you've ever created classes or not, you should be seeing, so like I have a number of classrooms in mine. If you do not, if you've never created a classroom before, and this is your very first time of logging in, it's going to tell you that you have no classes, and it should point you to the little plus in the upper right hand corner to say join a class or create a class.
Right from the screen that you're showing, or do I have to go to Google?
We're on that before.
So you'll need to be in classroom.google.com. And so I dropped it in the chat. And so if it doesn't ask you to share your, if it doesn't ask you to select your role, it means you've already logged in once. And this is one of those things that what happens a lot of times in a training is because once you've logged in, you never see it again. And so people who've never logged in will panic because they've never seen that, you know, you don't see that pick a role type of thing. And you're in a training, and so you think you're a student, and so you click on student, and then you don't have you can't create a class. And so that's why I really try to make sure that we talk about that for those people who haven't logged in. Okay, so for the people thanks, Corey. Yes, you point out that you can minimize your screen so you're able to see Julie's Zoom screen and your web browser screen. That will work best. Yes, thanks, Corey. Okay, so once you've logged into Google Classroom, we've got two different things that we're going to be able to do. I created a class for us today so that you guys can join that. And so if you are on your home page for Google Classroom, you can click on the plus, and there is an option to join a class. And if you click on that, it will ask you for the class code. So I'm going to show you the class code. I will also paste the class code into the chat so that you have it both ways. So here's the class code. And this is where we'll be able to keep our resources and everything all together. One of the things that we will also do is you guys will be creating Google Classrooms today also, just so that you have that capability.
So invite students. Okay,
So you'll want to click on the plus and then enter in your class code.
I don't know where she's at. I have no idea what's going on.
Okay, let's.
Yeah, you're going way too fast.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Oh, no, you guys are good. Okay, so what we're going to do is, so we've logged into Google Classroom. And so we've got classroom.google.com and we're logged in. So does everybody see a screen? Did they get logged into Google Classroom?
So we go to Google and Google that link in, right?
So all you need to do is type in classroom.google.com, and then you will want to log in using your K-12.
So we're supposed to be doing this on our own screen.
Yes.
Am I logged in now? What am I?
yeah,
And so one of the things that I think we will do is I'm going to, given that we have a wide range of skill sets right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do two different things. I'm going to just show you the whole process of creating a class, how it's all structured, and then I'm going to give you guys some time to create your classroom. If you've already created classrooms, etc., this is a chance for you to go in and do some of the fine tuning that you would typically do, whether it's creating new classes for next year or cleaning up this year's classes, etc., etc. So I wanted everybody to be able to get logged in so that we had that capability to be able to share. And you won't have any class lists for next year yet, but you can still set up your structures and your you can set up your structures and you can start thinking about your content and things like that. And so it gives you that capability. All right, so once in Google Classroom, so where we're at is we've logged into Google Classroom. I'm going to create a class, and this is where, so class naming, when we think about naming a class, you'll want to name it if you don't know what classes you're teaching yet, that's a great question. A couple of things you can do is, because you can duplicate classes, you can also start thinking about your structures. So you can say, after going through training, I want to structure my classes by unit, or I'm going to structure my classes by week, or you can think about how you want to structure. You can set up your structures, and then you can copy those classes, so that you can say, if I'm going to be teaching 6 sections of science, but I don't know what sections they are, but I'm going to structure them all the same. You can do that. So that can be a way to utilize what you're doing here. So class name, and this is going to depend on what you're teaching. Elementary school, I might want to call myself Mrs. Erickson, and I might want to say first grade, if that is what I teach, how I do that. In high school, I might, because we have to think about, our students have to be able to identify that it is our classroom. And so we want to make sure that we use a naming convention that is useful for our students. High school, you will most likely create a class for every period. And so in that section, you would be, I could say I was Mrs. S science, and then I could say, period 1, or I could say section 1 for period 1. I can also use, the only thing that's required is the class name. Everything else is optional. So you can name them. A lot of people will name using the class year. And so you'll say 2021, et cetera, et cetera. If you do know your class list, you can put them in, but if you don't know your class list, it's not that big of a deal. The other thing is, you can, like especially in high school, and you can have them join. And so you don't necessarily need to put your students in today. Putting the students in is probably the last thing that I would worry about as we're getting through this. Like Courtney, not knowing what you're teaching, that's going to be challenging, just because if you want to start thinking about, if I'm doing physics versus chemistry, will my classes look different? That's going to change things. So demo class. So it does take it a couple seconds to create a class. So there's always that spinning going on. But once you've created the class, it's going to pop up with your options here. So the very first thing we see is at the top of the screen, you see your stream, classwork, people, and grades. Oh, sorry. Did I stop sharing? I think I stopped sharing. Sorry, guys. So you have your stream, classwork, people, and grades. And so when you're looking at that, we're going to go through all 4 of these, along with some of the cool things that you can do with them. So at the top, we have our class header, and it comes totally, it comes with a default. It'll change. Like if I would have said science, it would have had a more science-y. I can either select a theme if I really just want to grab a theme off of the top, or I can upload a photo. And so this is where, if I have a picture that I would like to upload, I can do that. I can customize that. If you are looking at the handouts, there is a really cool resource here where you can create a Google Classroom custom header with Google Drawings. And so there's a template for that in this link. And so if that's something that you're interested in, you can actually go in and do that. So the very first page here is our stream. And this is where we're going to see upcoming, and so this is all the work that's going to be coming, and so that will show up. We have the ability to share something with our class. And so this is all you can post here are announcements. What will show up here are your assignments, but you can't post your assignments here. And that makes life so much easier because everything is in its own tab. So in the stream, you have the ability to post announcements. And so if I click on this, I can share an announcement, and I can share it with all students, or I can share it with just the students that I want to share it with. So that's my stream page. The next page over is your classwork page. And this is the page that we spend most of our time on. This is where we can create our assignments. We can ask questions. We can also create forms, create quizzes, and so you have a lot of options here. You'll also notice that we have a link to Meet. One of the nice things is within Google Classroom, you do have Google Meet. And I can add Meet to my class. I can generate a Meet link, and I can make it visible to students or not. Most of the teachers I work with do not make it visible to students. They just copy and paste it and put it in either as an announcement, or they put it in as an assignment to say, you know, our face-to-face will be on Tuesday, and here's the Google Meet for that. So you do have options there. Every class has its own Google Calendar. And so you can go in and view the Google Calendar. As a teacher, you will see all of the classes that you are part of, and you can control that. If you are not, as a student, you will only see the classes that you are part of, if that makes sense. And then finally, there's the Class Drive Google folder, and this is where all of your files that you create for the class will go. And we'll come back to this so that you can see how that looks. So let's look at the assignments real quick. When we have an assignment, we can click on the Create. You can do an assignment, a quiz, a question, material, reuse a post, and then you're going to notice topic. One of the cool things about Google Classroom is they have added topics, and this is, I mean, it's not new like in the last 6 months, but it's new in the last couple of years, and it really makes things so much more easy to organize. So if we add a topic, and topics can be any number of things. For those of you that are using Google Classroom, in the chat, tell us what kind of topics you used in your classroom. Or you can unmute and talk too. Dates of the week, excellent. And so you organized your classroom by the topic. Chelsea uses different chapters. You can do stories we read, beef, plant science, FFA. So you had everything, Courtney, you had everything kind of you had everything in one class, and then you use those topics within that class. Nice, different cluster ideas. So there's so many ways you can organize this. And so just so each week, okay. So yeah, so what your topics do is they help you organize. And I will go through and I'll do unit 1. I'll do units just so that you can kind of see how that looks. But no, there's so many different ways that you can organize. You can also rearrange your topics. Another topic that I like to have is materials, or, resources, and that would be where you would put, your syllabus, or your, here's how you access the class, here's how you access online tools that we use. And so the materials is a nice one to have. I've also seen teachers that use review, and they will actually move assignments back up to review so that students will check to see what's in the review. So I've seen a lot of different things with organization, but I'm glad that you guys, have, that's one of the things that you're going to want to think about is, okay, so Michael aligned your assignments groups in IC so they were easy to grade and easy for parents, students to understand when checking their grades. Yes, I mean, so those are those kinds of things. As we're doing this, you'll want to think about what makes most sense for your communication with your students, and also how it'll be easiest for you to manage. And it looks like a number of you guys have come up with some really great ways to organize your content areas. So that's those are topics, and the nice thing now about topics is you can arrange them, so I can move them around as I want them to show up on the class on the page. And you'll also notice here that students only see topics with published posts, and so any student that sees a topic without the topic, you could lay out all your topics for the year. Excuse me, and put posts in them, but not have them be published. And so then students will only see what has published content. A lot of times I will organize content. I mean, like group, you guys are like a quick 3 days, but in a session that like a school year or a semester, I would actually do reverse so that each week my new unit would pop in at the top, so the students don't have to scroll for it, if that makes sense. So that is your topics, and that is probably one of the things that will make your life so much easier, both communicating with your students and also help organizing the materials, is having really be thoughtful topics. So once we hit on create, then now we have options. An assignment is kind of the default. That's what we would obviously assume. The nice thing about assignments is you can do a lot with them and they can look very differently. So the title, naming conventions. So also people who've used Google Classroom, how did you name your assignments? I am taking a page out of Alice Keeler's book, and she's written a number of books on Google Classroom, and one of the things that she talks about is naming your assignments consecutively, and also not reusing those numbers during the school year. And that'll make it easier for, if you're searching in your Google Drive for content, it'll make it easier if you are explaining to students, I'm missing assignment #001. Why do we use the £? Because that will help it organize differently in our drive. The title of the chapter. Okay, project 1, project 2. Okay, same as you put them in the grade book. And so just so as you're thinking about, if you've not used Google Classroom before, I like the people who've noted they put them in the grade book. Like how are your assignments noted in your grade book? That consistency is going to be great. There's some sort of consistency that both you and your students will understand. So definitely keep that in mind. But Alice Keeler does recommend, she numbers all her assignments #00, and then she does not start renumbering like at the beginning of a semester, or she just keeps on numbering throughout the year. And so for organizational purposes. And so demo assignment, and this is adding from Drive. So in the instructions, one of the really cool things you can do is, do you guys have the emoji option? If you right click, do you see an emoji that you can drop in? It is super cool. So you can jazz things up a little bit if you insert the emojis. And so it's right click and then emoji. So if you see that, it is fun. And so your instructions, you'll notice here that they're optional. And so some teachers I know will just have everything in the Google Doc that they attach. Other teachers will actually put more instructions in this section. And so this is, we will add. And so at this point, I have the option to add content or create content. So she gives it a title too, so 001, she also adds in the like demo assignment, adding from Drive, or, I could say it's, unit 1, how to use Google Classroom. So she does use some information, but she doesn't, she doesn't just use the number. She uses a title after the number too, but she numbers them so that it's easier to go back and search, and to be able to say, okay, especially as a student, you can say, you're missing assignment 1 and assignment 5. It's easier for the students to search. So great questions. Oh, good, you have the emoji. Excellent, Courtney. Life-changing. So we're going to add a document from Google Drive. So if I click on the Add button, you'll see here I have 4 options. The first one is Google Drive, and that's going to show me all of the documents that I have access to in my Google Drive. I can see recent, upload, I can go to my Drive, and I can sort through. I can also look at shared drives and files that I may have starred. And so when I add a document from my Drive, it comes up, and this is the thing that makes Google Classroom so fun. I can go in and I can say, students can view file. If students can view file, they can only view the file. And so that can be something that you could put in as background. It could be information. Students can edit the file. If students edit the file, it means that they will be collaborating on this document. And so if I share a file where it's students can edit, we're all editing the same file. If I make a copy for each student, that means that each student has their own copy. And the really nice thing about this is it will add the student name. And so you don't have to remember to add their name. Yay! And so making a copy for each student is just like using the photocopy machine. And so as we come in, you have those different options when you add a file from Google Drive. You'll also notice we can create a file, and that gives us the option to create anything that is in Google. So we can do a doc, slides, sheets, drawings, or form. So we could go in and create. You'll also notice when we add that we can add a link. And so this would be if I had a website that I wanted to add in. And so like I want to add a link. I can just copy and paste that and it'll add the link in there. So if I want to send the students out to a website, if I want them to read content on a website, I can do that. I can also do a file. That means that I can insert files from Google Drive. It gives me all that, but I can also upload a file from my device. And so this would be if I had a PDF document, if I had a Word document, any of those resources. I am going to say it is easiest to work with Word or with Google Docs and Google Slides and Google Sheets versus Excel and Word and all those, but you can. I mean, so it just depends on what works best for you and how you're doing that. The other thing we can add is a YouTube. And so here I can search if I just wanted to look for a topic, or I can paste in the YouTube URL and it will actually bring in a YouTube. And so let me grab a YouTube URL. Let's see. Oops. Where is my share, people? Oops. So if I grab my YouTube URL and I can drop it in, so a Loom video would, so now I can add YouTube. So a Loom video, great question, is essentially a URL. And so anything that you can get a link to, you can add. So Courtney says use Alt-D and Alt-C to select and copy a URL. And so I don't have a Loom video, I don't think filed away, but if you, yes, you can add any kind of videos, and it doesn't upload them so much as it links them. And so it just drops in the links to those resources. You also, if you have videos that are in Google Drive, you can just add them through Google Drive. So basically, as long as you have a link, you are able to add it to your Google Classroom. All right, so now I'm going to pop on over. Okay, yep, Chelsea said she recorded off a Zoom and added it through the link. Yeah, so anytime you can get a link you can add that video to Google Classroom. So the next thing is we're going to look at assigning this document or assigning this assignment. So under your 4, notice that I can pick all of the classes if I wanted to that I have active. I can also select students because I don't have any students in this class. It defaults to all students. If I have students, I can actually go in and I can pick and choose which students I want to assign it to. I can make this be an ungraded assignment, or I can adjust the points. I can set a due date. And you'll notice one of the things that you can do with the due date is I can not only just do due date, so I'm going to say it's tomorrow, but I can also throw in a time if I want to. And then topic. This is where if I don't drop it under a topic, it'll just float around in, and so I'm going to not drop it under a topic initially, and then we'll put it under a topic just so you can see what it's like. We can now add rubrics. And so you can go in and you can create a rubric if you want to. You can also pull in a rubric from Google Sheets if you have one. So I'm going to discard my changes here. And then the last thing is the originality reports. And I'm just going to say that that's a new thing. And so it's kind of like Turnitin. It checks for originality. The thing with the originality reports is in a standard Google Apps for Education account, you can use that on 3 assignments during the course of a year. If you pay for an additional account, you can use it unlimited. And I've seen some discussion at the state of South Dakota about it. I'm assuming we will just have the 3 for the year. I don't think they'll do the add-on. Some really great discussion here in the chat about SPED and SPED teachers as students in your classroom. And I'm glad you guys are talking about this. And so one of the things that you can do is adding your oh, good, Corey. I like that naming conventions discussion. Okay, so SPED, one of the things that I've seen a lot of teachers do, a lot of schools do, is instead of the SPED teachers having their own classrooms, they are teachers in the classrooms where their students are. And so they are added as a co-teacher, which means that they can see the assignments, they can add and edit assignments. And so it really allows, and because as you see here, we can just make assignments to specific students if we want to. And so as a SPED teacher, I can go in to, if I've got a student in 4th grade, I can go into my 4th grade student's Google Classroom. I can just give him an assignment in Google Classroom. I can also see what he's doing, so I have that. I have all of that resource. Carissa notes that including a due date is extremely helpful for parents, and yes, it does, because it does show up in the notifications. So that is really helpful. And so Lisa, yes, you added as a co-teacher. Thank you, Lisa, for adding that. Yeah, we have multiple conversations going here. So yes, so that is one of the things that I really like, is that you can have your teachers. And in fact, I will dump you guys into a breakout room so we can come up with naming conventions, middle school, high school, and elementary school, so that you guys can have that discussion. All right, so I'm going to click on, and then you're also going to notice that I can schedule this assignment, I can save it, or I can discard it. Excuse me, if I save it, I've saved a draft. And so this is really nice, because if I've created something that I want to duplicate, having the draft is nice. I can schedule it out, so it'll show up on a certain day. I can also just straight out assign it. And so remember, I did not put a topic on this one. And you'll see it just floats up to the top, and it doesn't land anywhere. So I'm going to quick edit it, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to add a topic. I'll say it's Unit 1, save. And now you're going to see, and I'll move Unit 1 up. Unit 1 is here. It is in Unit 1. And so that is one of the things that is really nice, is even if you forget something, you can go back and change things. If you say, golly, I really need to change my naming conventions, I need to change this, I can do that. So the naming conventions and the topics can really be useful. The other types of assignments you can do are a quiz assignment. A quiz assignment allows you it creates a blank Google form for you. You'll also notice here that it will import your grades, and I have done a test on that, and it's fine. It's just it does automatically limits each form to one response per user, so you can't the user cannot take the quiz multiple times. So at this point, I can go in and I can edit the quiz. And then once that's done, I can go in and add my topic. I can add what students get it. I can then assign it. So that's what an assignment looks like, or what a quiz looks like. Yes, you can use a quiz that you already have. And so with the quiz assignment, you can just add it if you wanted to and pull one in from Google Drive. So yes, you do not have to use their created ones. This is one of the things that they've done to kind of streamline it for people who are getting started. Question. This is one of my favorites. This gives you the capability to either do a multiple choice or a short answer question. And so you can use this as just a quick check-in. You can use it as an exit ticket. You can also see that we can have students can reply to each other, or students can edit their answer. So we have a lot of options here with the question. Um, Um, so time limit, so great quiz questions. So Janelle, you should be able to grade it from, you should be able to grade it from the quiz in your classroom. And I'll answer that one tomorrow. I'll make sure that that's okay, because I just did one and it was good. Can you put a time limit on the test? Not really. If we do a quiz assignment, you can, you don't really have that option in Google Classroom, to say you only have so much time. So sorry. Materials, if we do materials, that is just content that your students have access to. So like I said, this is your, how to log into my classes, how to do, those types of things. And then finally, reuse posts. And this is awesome because you can go in and find posts that you have used in other classes. You can, so it gives you a lot of more flexibility than just having to use the same post over and over, using your creating new posts each time. And so especially if you're teaching multiple classes, you have that capability. I'm not sure why it's not, there we go. And so here I can go in and I can see all of the classes that I've been part of. You'll notice it even lets me pull from archived classes. And so I can pull in and pull content from an archived class. You'll also notice that I can check create new copies of all the attachments. And then I can say reuse and it'll pull in for me. All right, Trent, so you noticed that short answer question was automatically marked wrong. That should not, we'll look at quizzes tomorrow too. We'll go in and look at forms and how that works. There is the option that you can lock the Chromebook so that the web browsers are disabled. Yes, and you'll notice that when we create the quiz, that it has that you can have the locked mode on Chromebooks, and so you can turn that on. Okay, so I'm going to pop back. So that's basically your classwork in a nutshell. The next one over is your people. And this is where if I want to invite students to this class, I can give them the class join code. And so I could just, you know, post this on my board, send it out in an email, and they can just join that way. I can also invite students. And so you would need to know their email addresses to be able, or you would need to know their names to be able to invite them. I can only invite people on the K-12. The other thing is I can add other teachers. And so you'll notice that teachers you add can do everything you can except delete the class. So I can add others to be teachers. I can also transfer ownership. And so once I invite a teacher, I can make them the owner of the class. And so like say I'm retiring or I'm taking on a different school or I'm moving to a different grade, I can give the new fourth grade teacher my old my old fourth grade classroom. And then finally, the grade section, because I don't have any people in here, we don't see much for grades. And so I will come back and we'll look at, let's see. So I want to show you grades, so give me a second. So when I want to look at grading, so now I actually have assignments in this class. I have a student. I can see what's happened here. So here's my demo quiz. Here's my demo assignment. It's missing. And so I can go in, I can click on the assignment. I can see what's been turned in, what's been assigned, what's been graded. I see here that it's graded. If I click on, and so this was my demo quiz, and I'd set it up to be graded. And so at this point, it shows me my quiz. Whoops. If I look at it here, if I wanted to go in and edit the quiz or see the results, how did I do this? It's pulling it up. You're right. I did this, but I don't remember what I did right now. Oh, here it is. So there's the edit down here that shows me my responses. And so I can go in and actually see how each student responded. The way you run into challenges here is how you set up your questions. Trent, you noted that short answer does not accurately record. So we'll look at definitely how you set up those quizzes and what some of your options are there for grading and how to best use that. So that would be, so when you pop in, you don't necessarily have to go Google Drive, but you do need to click on the edit feature in the lower right-hand corner to be able to see your responses. Okay, so I'm going to pop back out to my grading. The other thing that with the grading is I have some settings that I can go in and look at. I can talk about grade calculation. I can do an overall grade if I want. I can show overall grade to the students. And then I can also add grading categories. And so this is great if I want to say, you know, like a quiz is worth 5 points. A paper is worth 15 points. It gives me that flexibility to be able to do that as I'm grading. And so now, once I go in and I look at my assignments, I actually have options to add in where they're at in terms of grades and their topic, what kind of topic they fall under. So the grading topics can be beneficial for organizing your class. All right. So kind of watching the chat, and there's been some really good discussion going on in here. And so what I want you to do next is, let's pop back over here, is take a few minutes and we are going to join the Google Classroom class for today. Oh, Trent, that's the best question of the day. Can you connect your Google Classroom gradebook with our Infinite Campus gradebook? How about maybe? There is an option, but I do not know if you can. I don't know if it's enabled or not. And that's more of an infinite, that's more of a K-12. Thanks, Janelle. Yeah, because I did some research into it and I wasn't able to determine if you could connect it or not. You can download your gradebook. Corey, what's correct? Do you want to unmute and talk about it? Oh, there's cost involved. Okay. Yes. So like I said, I've seen that it's an option, but nobody really does it. And so I figured it was either a cost or it was, it really wasn't an option. So, but I will show you guys how to, after we get some grades in, I'll show you guys how to download your grade books and, you know, some of the things that you can do to help facilitate and streamline that connection. The other thing is thinking about what you put in Infinite Campus versus what you have in Google Classroom. Does everything need to go one-to-one, or can you, do you have the capability to just say you're going to put in like semester grades or quarter grades in Infinite Campus, and your Google Classroom will have the fine detail. So those are things that your district can discuss and look at. Okay. So where we're at now is you guys have seen Google Classroom. We've gone through it, and hopefully some of you that have been using it picked up some new tips and tricks. What we'll do first is I want to make sure that everybody can get into the classroom for today. And so I'm going to share this link again and in the chat, and then I will also we'll also take a short break. And so if you guys would come back in 10 minutes, and so at 9:49. So make sure you join the class and then go ahead and take a quick screen break so that you can get away. I'm going to stay here and answer any questions that you have or anything like that. So go ahead and unmute if you have questions. All right, back to it. So what we're going to do now is you guys are in the Google Classroom. And I've got about 60 of you in, which is great. And now I have 61 because I'm in too. And so I'm going to pop back to my K-12. Now that I have people over here, you're going to see this is where I can add a teacher. I do have to invite a teacher, and just FYI, like you guys are all teachers, but if I were to try to invite one of you into my classroom, if you guys are in my class, I cannot invite you in as a teacher. So that's just one of those moments of if you're collaborating with a teacher and you have her in as a student and you want to bring, you know, say, okay, now I want you to, you know, be my co-teacher, you can't do that. So just so you know. So the other nice things here is I can invite guardians, and this will allow me to pull in, so the emails that you have for parents, you can invite in guardians, and then you can turn on your parent notifications. The other thing with this is once, for example, like if one of Jackie's teachers invites their guardians, those guardians will be invited for all of the classes that are using Google Classroom that have guardians turned on. So I am loving the stream. You guys are rocking it. And so people are telling us good morning, which is awesome. But then we're also answering the question. And so this is really, really cool. So people are answering my stream question. Now I'm going to say, and Mary Beth, you're fine. You didn't do anything wrong. But I'm going to say that Mary Beth said something inappropriate. And so here's where I'm going to kind of ask you guys in the chat, what are some things that I can do to Mary Beth because she's written something inappropriate here? You can unmute too. I can delete the comment. Yes, Trent, I can, and I'm not going to delete your comment, Mary Beth. But the other thing I can do to Mary Beth is I can mute her. And so I can delete the inappropriate comment. I can also mute Mary Beth so that she can no longer comment on the stream. And then I can have a private conversation with her and say, hey, do you know why I deleted your comment? The other cool thing is, so if we look at our settings here, this is all your class details. Here's your class code. Here's my stream. I can set it up so students can post and comment. Students can only comment, or only teachers can post and comment. And so really, I mean, so right now I've set it up so that you guys can both post and comment, which is fine. But if I wanted to control the stream a little bit more, I could make it so only I could post questions and the students could only comment on what I post. Notice here I have show deleted items. So when I delete Mary Beth's comment and I turn this on, it'll show me those deleted items. So I can sit down with Mary Beth and say, hey, I deleted this comment. Why do you think I deleted this comment? You know, and we can have that conversation. But only teachers can view the deleted items. So if you keep it turned off, it just won't clutter your site. We have Guardian summaries turned on here. And Guardian summaries, and I just want you to know, they aren't like super exciting, but they're really awesome. So those of you guys that used Google Classroom this last year, did you use Guardian summaries or not? Okay, so I see a quick question about the stream and then also shutting off the option for chatting. Okay, so Krista, do you want to talk about why you shut the option off for chatting? So Guardian summaries real quick. Are you going to talk? I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to comment.
Oh, good, thanks.
I teach 6th through 8th language arts, and my middle school students often, we do blogging on different formats, and sometimes they're really good at that. But when we go into Google Classroom to look at an assignment, and there isn't necessarily a blogging situation always, or a question they have to answer, sometimes it's just me showing them how to get into the assignment that I've posted and all the material that's there and that kind of thing. When they see that they can post comments on there, then they tend to just post silly things or inappropriate things, or like I had one student that posted like 40 comments of the same image. I mean, just silly stuff like that. So, so usually I shut it off, especially sometimes I'll try it with them. I'll leave it open and see how they handle it. And if they handle it, then I know that it's something that we can use later. But if I leave it open and immediately start having trouble with it, then I usually just shut off the option for chatting.
Mhm.
for posting onto the stream. That's why I do it with my middle school kids.
And what I do like, I mean, and it can be if they're not using it appropriately. What I like is that you have some options. I mean, like the kid who posted 40, you can mute him and you can be like, yeah, dude, this is why. Um, but the like allowing, I like that, I can post if I want to. I can post on the stream. I can set it so that I can post and you guys could then comment on my posts. And so you couldn't necessarily create these good morning posts, but you could create the questions to have the comments on. And so that can be a nice way. So you can kind of balance. Like I said, being able to mute a particular child or, having that, you don't have to mute the whole class, I think can be a great option. So I had a quick question from somebody about where is the stream? How do you get in the stream? So when you're in the Google Classroom class, the stream is actually the default that comes up. And so you see your stream here. And so are you, Sharon, are you in the class? And then because we've had a few people that, have said good morning, then, oh, good, awesome, wonderful. So that's the stream. If we click on the classwork, you're going to see, you guys are only going to see day one. You're going to see that I have multiple topics, but you guys will only see the assignments that are due. And these are optional assignments. I mean, if you don't do them, I'm not going to flunk you. But you'll see that I've dropped in some assignments and you can go in and view the assignment. So I can come back now and I can see who it's all assigned. I see one person has turned it in. And if you read the instructions, we also can talk about the creating an assignment and how we're going to creating your classroom is this assignment. All right. And so the other thing here is, so now, because you guys did mention doing the kind of the discussion on naming conventions, I will start that out tomorrow. So today I really want to give you a little bit of time to create your breakout or create your classroom and share that. And so you do have your first assignment is the creating a classroom. And then the other assignment is using Google Drive. And so we're going to talk about how we create and share resources in Google Drive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can look at breakout rooms real quick. And so I did create breakout rooms. However, you're not very well organized. So, oh, Courtney, that's a great question. What's the advantages of Google Drive versus OneDrive? Does anybody want to talk about that?
Julie,
Yes.
there
Thanks,
really
Court.
isn't much difference between OneDrive and Google's Drive other than when we use the Microsoft product, our K-12 email is tied to that. Using those two cloud services are the two that we're going to recommend from this time on, especially coming into school this fall, that we need to get away from saving our files to the desktop or saving our files to the server and now get to the cloud-based version of either using OneDrive from Microsoft or using Google Drive from Google. So there's not much difference other than what we said. OneDrive, your email's there. Google Drive, you have to access your email through another step, or you're going to have to log into a third piece to get into your email.
Right. And I think that's going to be one of the challenges that you see with, yes, we will touch on Google Drive so that you guys can use Google Drive. And so, okay. So when you're talking about using everything on OneDrive and, you know, using Google Drive, all right, so I'm not going to give you your breakout rooms. We'll do breakout rooms tomorrow. I'm sorry. We'll look at Google Drive real quick just so that we can answer those questions. So in Google Drive, it really looks very similar to OneDrive in the sense that it is a online drive. When we create our Google Classroom, you will have it'll automatically create a classroom folder, and in your classroom folder will be all of the different assignments, all of the different folders that you have created for that. And so let's see. Like here's Google Classroom Sisseton, and then if I go in here, you're going to see that I added files for this first class or this first assignment here. And so I will see all of the files that are for this one. So you will automatically come up with a classroom folder. But I'm going to pop over here and look a little bit at navigating your Google Classroom. So you have two different, guess?
Share your screen.
Say that again. Oh, am I not? I'm sorry. Okay, we're now sharing my screen. Okay, so this is Google Classroom, or this is your Google Drive. And within your Google Drive, you can do all of the things that, I mean, you can, it's set up just like a drive on your computer. It's just in the cloud. So you can access this content anywhere. On the left-hand side, you have the ability to say new. Notice you can create folders. You can also upload files. You can also upload folders. And so for those of you that have content in OneDrive and you are going to be using Google Drive or Google Classroom, you can move entire folders over if you want to. If you if you have your whole class in OneDrive, you can move the whole class over to Google if you want to do that. You can also create individual Google Docs, sheets, slides, etc. I do, this is not the drive I use the most. This is not the drive I'm looking for. And so this one isn't as organized as my real drive that I use. But you can do a lot to organize. Two things. View. I am using list view right now. If you're in the upper right-hand corner, there's also a grid view. And grid view shows you your files so that you see them as kind of like a little preview. And so, and Krista, thanks for that comment on Microsoft Teams is in Office 365. And they have made huge, progress, but I agree with you. It is easier to use Google Classroom at this point. And so I just think if you can use your content back and forth, and I'll show you how you don't duplicate documents too, so you can see that, because that is frustrating. So two views, I hate the grid view because once you get lots of files in, it can be really complex to find what you're looking for. I prefer the list view so that I have everything listed out. You also have the ability to control how it is set, it organizes. And so right now I've organized it by name, but I can also organize by owner or by last modified. And to be honest, I do a lot of last modifieds because then it pulls up content that I'm currently working on versus content that I'm not working on. But you can organize it any way you want to organize it. You can also search really easily across and look for different content. Now I want to talk about, Carissa noted that Google will duplicate documents, and I'm going to show you why, and it's getting better about that. But when we upload a document from our computer, let's see. So I'm going to upload you guys. So one of the things that I do love about being able to upload stuff is I can drag it over, you guys. Drag it, it's copied, life is so good. And so it's uploaded, winning, you know, and so I could drag over whole files if I wanted to. So that's pretty slick. I don't have to go through a lot of hoops. Now I can see here that it is, it came in, and you'll notice that it turned itself into a Google Doc or a Google Sheet. That's because of my settings. When I look at my settings, and so if I go up to the gear and I click on settings, I have an option here where it says convert uploads. And so it says convert uploaded files to Google Docs editor format. If I uncheck that and say done, now if I upload this file over, so I'm going to upload the same file again. It'll upload it. And now you're going to notice that it's got the Excel SX. So it came in Excel format. It didn't convert. I can edit and collaborate in real time now. And so I do have that. And so I don't have to convert it to a Google Doc or a Google Sheet if I do not want to. And I'm just going to tell it later. Here, when I open it with Google Sheets, that's where now I end up with multiple copies of it. And so I will end up with more than one copy. And so that is just something to keep in mind if you're moving files over and you don't want the duplicates, do the settings and convert uploads. What I will warn you with is if you have really fancy formatting, it like in a Word document, it may mess it up. It doesn't do well with formatting. So yes. And so I can, so we can talk about shared drives a little bit more as we go through the week too, because being able to share your content back and forth is huge. So that is like how you can upload. That is why you end up with duplicate content. And like I said, I generally do convert because I generally want my files to be in Google format. I don't want them to be in the original format. And so it's very easy to move content over. It's also very easy to do this as a collaborative. And so one of the things I see a lot of schools do is, you know, maybe we'll have first grade. And in first grade, I may actually make numerous folders here, you know, where I can say I'm going to have maybe this year, or I'm going to have my first grade teachers, or I'm going to have projects. I can say, you know, we do the Leaf project. And so I now have made a folder for the LEAF project, and I can collaborate. I can put documents in here. I can share this folder with my other first grade teachers. We can now build the LEAF project out together. And so I do an awful lot of collaborative work in my Google Drive and share documents and files back and forth with teachers. So when I want to do sharing, couple different options. I can right click and I can click on share. And at that point, I can make it so it defaults to only me, but I can add people. And so I can say anyone at the state of South Dakota. And so anybody with a K-12, I can say anyone with the link, or I can just specifically invite. And so if I wanted to invite other teachers in my school, I could specifically invite. Once I've done all this, I can copy my link and share that out with others. And so I have the capability to share content really easily with my colleagues and even partner across. I've done statewide projects where we've worked across the state with people. And so you have different options. Let me think. So that's kind of the Drive stuff. Are there other questions about Drive, etc.?
Julie,
Yes.
were you going to share maybe a later date on the shared with me feature that Google Drive has, or
Oh, sure.
I don't know if today is the day to do that, or we want to wait, or
So we do have office hours this afternoon, but we can definitely look at the shared with me. And so within your Google Drive on the left-hand side, priority is something that's brand new, and this is where you can highlight your most important files. And so right now, it's established files for me. I haven't used it because it's really new. Within your drive, you have all of our files. And then there's such a thing as shared drives. And these are things that essentially with a shared drive, everybody in the drive has access to the files. And so it's a little bit different than your drive, because your drive, you can control who has access. In a shared drive, if you're in the drive, you have access to all the files in that drive. We're using them some and at work right now, and I'm not 100% sold. I can manage my drive, so I'm not sure, but just so you know, that's what that is. Shared with me is something that is great because I can go in and see what has been shared with me. And so like this morning, it looks like Tammy shared something and Janelle has shared something, and Joni has shared something with me. And so I can go in and I can see what has been shared with me. Recent is another one that I use quite a bit. It's like, because that will pull up just what I was opened recently. Starred is something that when I'm in a file, I can right click on it and I can add a star, or in this situation, remove a star. And so this is nice if you have like those 6 files that you want to, always know where they're at, or folders, you can do that. Trash is your trash, and it will empty eventually, or you can empty it for yourself. And then finally, storage. And this goes in and looks at all of the storage that I've used on my drive. And so it also tells me what I have used. So that's kind of the what's going on there. So we have about 10 minutes left. And so what we'll do now is, just because I'm not going to take the time to shoot you guys off into a breakout room because of the time, I'll let this last 10 minutes be for like questions, comments, concerns, and then we will do a 3 o'clock office hours this afternoon where I will just be online and you can come with any questions. It's, do I have, I've set this up in my class. What do you think? It's, I cannot figure this out. Help me, whatever. So any questions, and I will be here. So, all right. So the Zoom is at 3 o'clock Central Time today. And it's the same URL that you joined right now. And so Zoom is at 3 o'clock. And then what exactly is your assignment for tomorrow? So really, you have two assignments, and they're both, I mean, if you don't turn them in, I'm not going to fail you. Create a Google Classroom. And so if we click on this slides, everybody has one, and it goes through and it tells you exactly what you need to do. Insert a screenshot of your Google Classroom here, and then you answer some questions about it, and then you share those slides with the class comments. And so it's an opportunity to share those slides. I've actually seen, well, there's actually a book about using it with preschoolers, but I've seen it used with K1, K1-2. And then the other thing for tomorrow is using Google Drive, and that was just creating a Google Slides and changing it so anyone can comment, and then dropping it in the, dropping the link to your slides in the comment, in the class comments, and then just clicking submit. So that was all for that one. Is there a setting for students in which they can turn notifications for Google Classroom on and off? So as a student in the classroom, and so let me pop over to me as a student. I have some options with me as a student to be able to control things. And so let's see. No, maybe I don't have options as a student. I'll have to answer that one if students can turn it off. I know as teachers you can turn on and off your notifications, but as a student, I'm not just a student anywhere, so I don't know. I will have to try. I will have to make myself a student somewhere and try it there. Because here I have under my settings for the whole Google, I can do that. Some, and one in particular said, so you can, so here's classes you're enrolled in. But this is me as a teacher. I'll have to make me as a student, and I'll see if I can figure that out and tell you guys tomorrow about notifications, because I'm not sure what their options are.